Hey sports fans, I'm Mike.
I'm Wes.
And this is 4th and Goal! Here's a quick recap on last week's questions. For first down, we asked you, what is the greatest decade in sports history? In my opinion, it's the 1980s. In the 1980s, we saw the Showtime era as the Lakers, Celtics, and Bulls battled for NBA supremacy. We saw a decade-long hurricane as a team from Miami dominated the college gridiron. We saw the San Francisco 49ers as the class of the NFL. And possibly the greatest thing of all, it was the first decade since 1910 through 1919 in which the Yankees did not win a World Series. I think it's the greatest decade of all time.
Very informative, Mike. Now for second down. We asked if you thought it was lame to hire Lane Kiffin as the head coach of the USC football team. Personally, I think it is too early to tell. They haven't even finished their first season, and they won't be going bowling anytime soon. So maybe in 3 years, we can figure this question out. But until then, we'll just let Lane and his dad Monty figure things out in South Central.
So for third down last week, we asked you, who will be playing in this year's Rose Bowl? Well, Wisconsin has locked up a spot in the Rose Bowl by breaking a three-way tie atop the Big Ten with Ohio State and Michigan State, and that leaves Stanford and TCU as the only other contenders for this game. Well, TCU is undefeated and Stanford does have one loss, but that came against the number one team in the nation, which is Oregon. And they also played a tougher schedule. So I think Stanford is more deserving of it. They're not ranked as high as TCU, but at the end of the day, I've got to give it to Stanford. So Wes, what our viewers asked us this week for fourth down?
They asked us to decide which running back was the greatest in NFL history.
Wes, I got to go with Jim Brown. He played for the Browns in the 1950s and 1960s, and he set the NFL all-time leading rushing mark. Although he no longer holds this record, it was still set in 14 and 12 game seasons. He was just the greatest.
That's remarkable, Mike. Now I gotta go with the juice, O.J. Simpson. He is the only player to rush 2,000 yards in a 14-game season. 14 games. Guys are trying to do that this season in a 16-game season. Juice has got it.
Well, Wes, that's pretty impressive, but one thing that we can agree on is both running backs were great.
Great players.
So for first down this week, we're asking you, what was the greatest meltdown in sports history? It can be a player, a coach, an owner. It could be on the field. It could be off the field, like maybe in an interview. Anything. Be descriptive. Just a few years ago, Michael Vick was convicted and found guilty of fighting dogs illegally. This landed him in jail for 18 months and has since been reinstated by the NFL and signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been there for 1.5 years and now he's a starter and he's doing great. But our second down question is not about his play on the field. We want to know, do you believe in the Michael Vick success story, or do you still think he's a hardened criminal?
FIFA recently announced that the 2022 World Cup will be hosted by the country of Qatar. This begs our third down question. Was this choice better than choosing the US? Why was it chosen? Game of the week, and this time it's SEC championship game between the Auburn Tigers and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Who do you have?
Wes, I've got Auburn. Their defense, although still pretty mediocre, has definitely improved over the course of this season, and the Cam Newton factor cannot be denied. He will take over this game and also take home the Heisman Trophy. What do you think?
I think South Carolina has this one. They have an experienced quarterback in Steven Garcia and a freshman phenom in Marcus Lattimore. Mike, they're going to win this game.
Well, Wes, ironically, these teams have met earlier this season in Auburn, with Auburn knocking out the Gamecocks on their way to number 1. We'll have to wait until this Saturday to see what the biggest game in the SEC will turn out to be.
But this time, it's at a neutral site. And don't forget to leave your fourth down question in the comments section.
Well, that does it for today on 4th and Goal. I'm Mike.
I'm Wes.
Touchdown!